Hey everybody, Coach LeeAnn Claire here, and this video is about learning the pathways of power. Now, what is power? First of all, power is something that can help you move. Power is something that is forceful and huge. It's impactful in a very, very big way. So learn the pathways of power. How do we do that? How does that happen? So what you're going to do is you're going to become a master of patterns. And this is what your brain does automatically, subconsciously, when you're going through your life, moving in psychology over and over again. That's why when you see a chair, you know you can sit in it because it's a pattern. You've done it so many times before, so you just want to become a master. First, you want to become aware of the pattern, and then you want to go ahead and you want to reflect on the pattern so that you can use it consciously. You want to bring it out consciously so you can use it later on in life. So how can you do this? How can you figure out what patterns are? So this is something you can look back in time about to help you moving forward. You can also do it right in the moment. Doing it in the moment is the most impactful, but looking back is also very good. So the two things you can do, you can reflect by just sitting there and thinking about it, but what I recommend is actually sitting down and journaling it. That's the second option. You can sit down and journal different patterns that you see happening over and over and over again. And I'm totally a believer at multiple chances and stuff like that, but I'm talking about patterns that you can leverage, you can sit down and use for your benefit so that you can prepare for things so that you're not super stressed out all the time in the last minute. You can just prepare. So there's some different types. For instance, there are behavioral patterns. And this is really cool because this can make you a master of communication. It can make you a master of people, of interacting with people. Anytime I see somebody, and if you're a female, you know this about me. We've had lunch or we've gotten together in the past year, you know this about me. If I hear a female talking about problems, talking about something going on in their life, and they're pissed, normally other females, the female just wants to hear like, oh, I totally agree, oh, it sucks, They come up with something that would just be like really nasty to do. It really stink. It would make you feel like gross to have to like revenge. I don't believe in it at all. But a lot of females, when they talk about their problems, they want someone to just agree with them and say that their feelings are correct. Well, what I do is I walk on in and I break their pattern because I make them look at it a different way. I ask questions to make them look at it a different way, look at the situation in a different way. So, because I've picked up on that pattern about females, and that's why some don't like me, because I won't just sit there and agree with you about what's going on. I won't just sit there and take on the emotion that you have. I have empathy for sure, but the biggest empathy is that you can't see the positive behind every situation. That's the empathy that I have. So I try to get you to that point. But going back to understanding power and the power of patterns. So you just be an observer. Always be an observer of yourself, of the people around you, of environments, of time, of situations that you constantly go through. Cycle. Why is it happening? The next thing that you want to pick up on are the triggers. There's different types of triggers. So like the very, very basic thing. For instance, my alarm clock goes off and I wake up. Or my alarm clock goes off and I snooze 4 or 5 times. My alarm clock is the trigger. The trigger to me to wake up. Setting my alarm clock to a point where I'm allowed to snooze for 4 or 5 times. That's a trigger of me snoozing 4 or 5 times. So you got to find the trigger and figure out what the trigger is to that action happening or that pattern starting. And then there's also patterns of time. This goes down to the very basic. If you just look back in history, all of the different patterns in history that have just repeated themselves over and over and over again. If you understand those types of patterns, then you can be so prepared for what's coming next. So then you don't have to be reactive, but you can be proactive. And this can be very, very broad, like, okay, when I'm 65 years old, this history and pattern makes me know that I'm going to have to prepare and do X, Y, Z. I'm going to take all my money out of the bank because we're going to be in a, depression. Stuff like that. It will prepare you so that you can maintain your sanity. So that's just a small, very, very small video on becoming a master of patterns. Honestly, if all you got out of this was just become more aware of patterns, that patterns exist everywhere, patterns exist with certain people, patterns exist with certain species, with dogs, with your mom, in time, patterns exist everywhere. Try to become aware of them, try to pick them up, and become a master master of them by being able to prepare in advance for them to happen. I love you guys. I hope this helped, and I will see you next time.